So welcome everyone to this PRISM 2025 webinar series. It's organized by PMI Malaysia and also Agilemania. And this happening events going to start at end of July at St. John Wembley, Penang. So let me share a little bit more. So what is PMI Malaysia? So we are the institute that established at 1994, which is also part of global network. We have over 2,000 members from different industry. So our objective here is to promote the project management excellence in Malaysia. So what PMI Malaysia offers, also the certifications and also the PDO points and also more networking and events for you to connect with others, experts and leaders. So you can find us at LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram. So just search PMI Malaysia. And also you can visit our official website, pmi.org.my. Okay, so next, a little bit about Agilemania. So it's empowering agile leaders, which is doing the agile consulting and training team. So we have the experts in Scrum, Safe, Kanban, Less, and even DevOps. So we've been served some top enterprise across banking like Maybank, telco like TMR&D, Macy's, and even more. And definitely we have trained and coached over 10,000 professionals worldwide. And again, you can also find us at LinkedIn and Facebook or visit the website agilemania.com. Okay, so what is PRISM? Since we've been talking PRISM 2025, it's definitely more than a conference. It is more like movement for agile, project management, and also digital transformations. So why we want to have this webinar series? Because we want to share different insights from all the brilliant industry leaders, such as today we have Azran here, also one of the great leaders, and also Francis. And in this 1 hour webinar series, we also want to offer some valuable learning opportunity so that you can also earn the PDO points. And definitely we want to build some excitement for PRISM 2025. So for today's topic, we are talking about the future of project management and AI, which going to have Francis here, and we have also Azran here, and also Dato Idris Jala later. So feel free to browse or scan the QR code that display on the screen to find out more details about the speakers and their topics in the conference. It's very exciting. For this year, theme is Bionic Edge, which means human and AI collaborate for sustainable projects success. So secure your spot.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special PRISM Prelude podcast, where we're going to explore what it takes to lead, adapt, and thrive in the world being redefined by AI, agility, and accelerating change. I'm Francis, the president of PMI Malaysia chapter, and I'll be your host and moderator for this inspiring two-part conversation with two of the boldest change makers of our time. So we begin with someone who is no stranger to disruption. He's not just talking about it, he builds it. So our first guest, Mr. Azran Osman-Rani, you see the handsome face. He's the co-founder and CEO of Naluri, a digital healthcare startup that blends technology and behavioral science to scale impact. Before that, he is well known for making wave as the founding CEO of AsiaX, make our long-haul, low-cost flight possible, and also iFlick Malaysia, and redefining what's possible in industry from low-cost airline, aviation to media, now to healthcare. So Azran is known for his bold thinking, human-first leadership, and also the relentless innovation. So today we're going to dive into his view on the evolving workforce, AI, and also what it really means to lead future-ready project team in the borderless world. So good morning, Azran. We are thrilled to have you.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Let's jump right in then.
Sure.
All right, first question. What are the defining experience that has shaped who you are today as a leader?
Wow. Okay, so maybe, I'll start with the context. Number one, I'm really looking forward to meeting as many of you in Penang next month. It's going to be very exciting. And I think like many of you as well, I started with a technical background, with an engineering background, and I looked at things very logically and in a structured way. Now I want to take you back to that defining moment in the year 2014. Before that, 2013 was what I thought the culmination of my professional career, because I had taken AirAsia X to a $1 billion IPO. We started it 6 years earlier in 2007 with just one plane. We grew it to a fleet of 25 aircraft, overcome the 2008 global financial crisis, natural disasters, oil price shocks, difficult government regulatory obstacles, and finally made it. But in life, Francis, just when you think you're at the top, life has a way of knocking you right back down. Because 2014 turned out to be an annus horribilis, a very, very difficult year. We had not one, not two, three black swan events.
Wow.
You might remember March 2014, MH370, the plane that went missing.
Oh, yes.
Still missing today. July was MH17 that was shot down over Ukraine. And December was QZ8501, the fatal AirAsia Indonesia plane crash. Now, although the three were not directly under me, the impact to our business was brutal, because we had grown, used the IPO proceeds, significantly increased our aircraft capacity, and yet travel demand from China and Australia, which were our two biggest markets, representing over 60% of our revenues, completely plummeted. They just didn't want to come to Malaysia because of these incidents. So number one, I thought then, right, in times of crisis, we as leaders were supposed to be decisive and courageous. And so I went to my board with what I thought was a very logical and structured turnaround strategy. I'll summarize it for you. You tell me, Francis, whether this strategy is good or not, right? I said, look, travel demand from China and Australia has collapsed. I'll take 50% of my aircraft capacity and lease them out to other airlines for about a year, like European airlines who need extra flights for summer charters to the Caribbean, North African airlines who need extra Umrah and Hajj pilgrimage flights, so that at least those planes will earn some money. If I keep them in China and Australia where demand has plummeted, they're going to be bleeding cash. And plus, 2014 was also the year where our Asian currencies that we earn revenue also collapsed against the US dollar. We sell tickets in ringgit, rupiah, Japanese yen, Australian dollars, Taiwan dollars, Thai baht, all collapsed against the US dollar, and 70% of an airline's cost is US dollars. So if I can move 50% of my capacity in this leasing arrangement and denominate those leasing contracts in US dollars, at least half my planes now are earning US dollars revenue and reduce the currency mismatch.
Sounds logical.
Sounds logical, right?
Yeah.
I thought so. And yet my board disagreed vehemently. And the more I argued my case, the more they pushed back.
Wow.
You see, in times of crisis, and this is the big defining moment, right? You realize people are less open to new ideas, untried things. They retreat to the safety of what they're familiar with, even if that may not necessarily be the right answer. Francis, did you ever have a friend or family member who was reluctant to take a vaccine during COVID?
Yes, I do.
Now, imagine if you went to that friend or family member and you say, hey, look at all the data, vaccine efficacy research from WHO, AstraZeneca 97.3, Pfizer 98.2, Moderna 95.9. Are you going to convince them with data?
Oh, you say these are manufactured data.
Exactly, right? So the more you push data, facts, logical arguments, the more they push back, right?
Yeah.
Which means in life, it's not just about what the right answer on the spreadsheet is about. Life, when things are really tense and when things really matter, it is the emotions and trust, because we are first and foremost humans. Right at the very top with board members and shareholders and senior executives, it becomes even more emotional. And the more you try to push on logic, the more they push back.
Wow, strange, yeah? So facts no longer can make a decision. There's trust and emotion can't seem there.
So let me summarize that defining moment for you. We need to connect before we correct. If you have a connection first, if they don't see that you've listened to them, that you are on their same side, it doesn't matter what you say logically, it's not going to come through. So connect before you correct. And that is why I felt coming out of that experience, it's probably changed the way I viewed how we lead organizations, how we make decisions. It's not just about what the spreadsheet says, but who's involved, what are their feelings, what are their emotions, and how do I get them to feel that we're on the same page?
So connect before correct.
Yes.
C and C. Connect before correct. Wow, good. So I hear some challenges, the 3 black swan in 2014.
Yeah.
So, people say purpose is the compass in complexity. So in what drive you in your core then and keep you going when the pressure is relentless like in 2014?
Here, let me try to take that in 2 ways. I think, I've really tried to hone in on this point on purpose, because when things are very, very volatile and uncertain, you need to have that purpose as the compass to help you navigate that storm. For me, that compass or that purpose lies in the common thread across all the businesses that I've built, whether it is AirAsia X as a long-haul airline, iFlix as a video streaming platform, and now Nullery in digital health. The one constant for me that drives and motivates me is how do we make things, products or services, much more affordable and accessible for the mass market segment. When I look at the world, I see a problem with the world. The gap between the haves and have-nots, right? 1% and 99%, it's growing. And that's creating more social tension. And you can see the strife, red shirts versus blue shirts, Trump, Brexit, right? Like it's tearing our society apart between haves and have-nots. If we can find a way to use technology, to use creativity, to make things more affordable and accessible for that mass market, hopefully I can do my small part to close that gap, right? And so while my experiences may seem like they're from different industries, I've been trying to solve the same problem, which is
affordability,
accessibility, and convenience for the mass market segment in emerging markets.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, let's briefly move on to, since we talk about innovation then. So in organization and even project today, we constantly ask either to disrupt or be disrupted then. So in your past experience, how do you do both then? Innovate boldly at the same time, maintain some stability in the organization.
So the way I look at things is, while it is important to have kind of a clear direction for your team members, but it's also important to kind of manage this risk that you said, right? The trade-off or tension between stability and adaptability, right? And I think, without getting too much detail, because I think this is the core of what I'm going to touch on in Penang, but I'll share with you kind of one perspective for today, kind of like a little teaser, which is to take a portfolio approach to risk, to innovation, to growth, right? A portfolio approach means I need to make sure I diversify. And the best way of trying to explain that is to think about how traditional big companies make decisions versus, say, an early stage startup investor. A big company would have to go through many boards, committee presentations. They want to see multiple scenarios, base case, optimistic case, pessimistic case, risk management, business continuity, a lot of planning. An early stage investor kind of says, all I know, I see 1,000 business plans every year. No business plan materializes as planned. but I still have to make a decision. I cannot just hold back and observe. So how do you decide? Number one, you decide based on the people who are going to execute. Do I have the right team to execute who will know how to adjust, pivot along the way, even as external circumstances change? And number two, I never make one bet. I make multiple bets, so that which ones show promise, I double down and reallocate resources. Which ones that don't, I'm quick to kind of pull those initiatives back. So I don't make big losses. So I might start with 100 different projects, and in 6 months it's down to 20. In a year it's down to 10. In 2 years it's down to 5. But many companies think at the planning stage you can somehow know, oh, these are the best ideas, the best approaches.
Untuk buat Indonesia, semalam kita just nak
Hi Mahesh. So I think that's the contrast, right? Because if you, while some of your core initiatives may still be a big part of your portfolio, are you making enough bets to test and learn, right? They may start with small, but if it shows promises, are you willing to double down and potentially even take away resources from your core business? The main principle is you got to learn from doing, not from analyzing, strategizing, and planning.
Wow. Okay, good. So I hear people is the key. Diversification and not over analyzing, but learning as we're doing. Enough kind of analyzing, but continue doing it, action rather than continue analyzing it. Interesting.
Yeah.
That is what agility we're talking about.
Correct. Yeah.
In today's world. Yeah. All right. Now let's move on. Then you've always been the tech guy. So as we are chasing digitalization and now AI, and the faster way of working, has there been a moment where tech almost outplays your leadership? And how did you catch up?
Oh, number one, I think I'm always behind the curve if you look at the tech lens, because my big role as a leader is, am I choosing the right people? Am I giving them the tools to grow? Am I convincing my stakeholders and rallying them, whether it's my board, my investors? So the key part of this is, I come back to that people point, right? So do I have my team members who are on top of the technology curve? I need to know enough to challenge them. I may not be the subject matter expert. Now, it's not necessarily even AI. I'll give you another simple example. How do I have conversations with airline pilots about how much fuel you should carry on a flight? You see, pilots, like doctors, can be very conservative. They're like, oh, I need to carry enough safety buffer just in case anything happens. I don't want to run out of fuel. Because if you run out of fuel, it could be catastrophic. But if you carry too much fuel, every flight, you burn fuel to carry fuel, and so you're incurring a lot more cost, right? Now, how do you as a non-pilot have that conversation? If you don't know enough, you're not going to convince them to change. But at the same time, I don't need to be a pilot myself, but I need to know enough to be able to kind of get them to think, look, what is the latest in technology and systems that allow us to achieve similar or even better levels of safety and performance with more fuel efficiency? What are we missing? What are other people doing, right? So using powerful questions with my team to get them to always be at the kind of leading edge of kind of latest technology and knowledge. Not necessarily I'm at the forefront, but I need to use or ask the right questions to make sure that my team members are there.
So how did you keep abreast with the latest technology? Like go back to the example you talk about in airline then. Did you read it, talk to people in the industry, or how you keep abreast with it?
Yeah,
latest happening?
So more than anything else, the number one way is professional networks.
Yeah, okay.
For example, right? Airline CEOs, we actually kind of are in constant touch, right? Like there's a WhatsApp group for airline CEOs.
Oh,
right?
You're not competing, but you're collaborating.
You may be competitors, but you're also collaborators. In Malaysia, among the tech founders, there's a very big WhatsApp group, right? So you hear what people talk about. Of course, you have industry gatherings, conferences, you meet. But I'm a big believer in one-on-one conversations or group conversations to know what's on people's minds, right? Kind of observing, listening, watching, rather than just simply reading books. I love books, I do that, but I think it's not so much about the content in the books, but how are people thinking about this? How are they applying? And how might I kind of apply that in my context?
Well, very good advice. Thanks for that insight.
Which is why you have to come to Penang and kind of network and connect with.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, come. Nothing can replace the face-to-face human connection. Yeah, to exchange real idea, not just reading from the books. Yeah. Good. Next one, we're looking at demographic shift and technology disruption. So Malaysia is at the critical demographic turning point. Here I'm referring to fewer Gen Z entering the workforce for whatever reason, but Gen X like us staying productive beyond our traditional retirement. And at the same time, we also hear the underemployment among the graduate is rising. Funny thing. And at the same time, project-based work is evolving fast, powered by AI. You keep hearing AI, automation, and also with the digitalization, the borderless collaboration now. You can do a kind of virtual working. So now, how do you see this workforce shift and technology trend redefining the future of project-based work? And what mindset leader need to adapt?
Sure. You touch on so many very interesting points. Let's start with the demographic shifts, right? Because it is very interesting. We are at today's world facing almost an existential crisis because we're not producing enough babies. Francis, you got to work harder and produce more babies. Right?
I contributed now.
So the key number is 2.1. Right? Kind of couples need to produce on average 2.1 children in order for the population to be flat. So not even to grow, but to be flat, right? Because that 0.1, there are unfortunately a small number of people who sort of don't make it into adulthood and don't marry and so forth, right? Today, Malaysia is already down to 1.6. And the only reason why it's 1.6 is because we have states like Kelantan and Terengganu that's 2.7, 2.9. Which means in Klang Valley, we're closer to 1.2. The population is rapidly shrinking. Now, on top of the population shrinking, which means the number of people entering the workforce is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You've got another problem, which is men, Malaysian men in particular, are not enrolling in university for sort of kind of white collar professional roles. Almost 70% are opting not to. And that's a very critical point, right? Unfortunately, you can blame it on starting wages for graduates not being high. It's below the cost of living. They'd rather start working at 18. And that's a reality. Today, if you go to any Malaysian university, the engineering school, the accounting school, the medicine school, my bet, 60, 70, 80% women. Right? Which means the professionals entering the workforce, there's a smaller number. And third, this is also a generation that is now exposed to a lot more opportunities that we never had when we started our career, right? Whether it is remote jobs, hybrid jobs. For example, for me, as an entrepreneur, I face a big talent retention challenge because Singaporean companies are now saying, hey, I can hire Malaysians, pay them Singapore salaries, work in Malaysia, which is still cheaper, and fly them to Singapore, once a month to kind of connect and meet the team. How do you compete, right? When people are offering 50, 100% more. So suddenly now the pool of available talent is dramatically shrinking. So number one, we've got to figure out, look, I can't just expect this new generation to do things the way I wanted as a leader. Because if not, they move on. They've got other choices and there's a smaller pool available. So number one, we as leaders, we've got to change how we run teams. We cannot apply the same way our bosses kind of managed this when we started. Francis, do you have children?
I have three.
What ages roughly?
28 to 23
Okay, great. So they're that
in
demographic
the workforce.
started in the workforce. Now let me ask you this. When you grew up as a kid, how many times did your parents tell you they love you? And how many times do you and your wife tell your kids when they were growing up that you love them?
Huge difference. They never tell me. My parents never told me that.
Exactly, right? Because they showed love by providing you food, by providing you schooling, right?
Yes.
But you
Those are silent love.
Exactly.
I call it.
But you give a lot of affirmation to your children.
Yes.
Now your children enter the workforce expecting affirmation because they got it from home, right? Number two, when you started your career, you had very limited options, right? Do this and make sure you earn.
Correct. Tough love. Our bosses are tough love.
Right?
I hire you. That's because I love you. That's all.
I know, but for your kids, you're like, hey, you can do whatever you want. You give them so many opportunities.
Yeah.
So they're entering the workforce saying, if I don't like what I'm doing right now, I can change.
You're right.
I can also resign because I go home. Daddy Francis is still gonna, put food on the table and do my laundry. So it's a safety net, right?
That's right.
So as much as we can say, oh, this generation is different, we actually have no choice but to figure out how can I get the best out of them, because their supply is very limited. And you still need people, right? And at the same time, by the way, Francis, most of our peers in our generation, we're going to have to figure out how do we work even longer, well into our 70s. Because with advances in medical technology, the urban professional living to 100 is going to be the norm, the reality. So as much as medical technology is going to keep you alive, most of us, 90% of us, won't have enough saved in retirement for 40 years.
All right.
Right? All right. That means you have to still continue working. That means you have to still continue to be abreast of all the latest technology changes, because your job's not going to be the same 5 years from now. So these are real discontinuities in the way our workforce is, both for Gen X and how do we live and work. What are we going to do in our 65, 70, 75? Because we have to. And how do we handle a generation that's coming to the workforce that's been shaped completely different?
So how do you suggest we handle that in terms of change?
Okay, so let's come back to the point on purpose. Let me ask, if you don't mind, Francis, put you on the spot.
Yeah.
When you grew up, you and I, we probably grew up in the same or similar era, right? Do you know why 1984 was a very special year for us?
Not sure. What is that?
That was the year we had TV Tiga.
Oh, yeah. Correct. I remember that. In 1985, we had Proton.
Yeah, right. Before that, we had RTM1 and RTM2, and suddenly we had TV3. It was so exciting. And you and I, Francis, we would patiently wait for Thursday, 5 o'clock to watch our cartoon show.
Yeah.
Today's generation is growing up saying, wait for a show, that doesn't make any sense. I can watch whatever I want, whenever I want. Instant gratification, right?
Oh, yes. Huge different. Yeah.
When you grew up, I don't know where you grew up. I grew up in KL. The one place to go shopping was Yauhan the Mall.
Yeah.
Right?
Oakland Road. Yeah.
Yeah. And this generation, with Lazada, Shopee, TikTok, even at 3 o'clock in the morning, they can buy whatever they want. And once they buy, they're already being told, 10 things that they don't have that they should have. The amount of exposure, right? So in an environment where this generation is just being bombarded with so many choices, it's very hard for them to have very focused attention. So our jobs as leaders now shifts from simply telling them what to do to helping them define their purpose that provides them that anchor that stabilizes their attention. If you
find a purpose
that excites them, not, by the way, not your company's purpose, This is the big mistake, right? Let's say your company's purpose is we're gonna be, net zero energy by 2050, blah blah blah. But if that doesn't excite that young engineer, that young project manager starting at 24 years old, they're gonna feel disconnected. But if you spend time as a leader, what excites you? Who do you admire? What would you like to do? How can I use the experiences I'm giving you, the projects that I'm giving you, for you to build the skills? Let's say some of them think, hey, you know what? I want to be a social media influencer. I want to be an internet entrepreneur. Hey, cool. What do you think you need to succeed? Do you need analytical skills? Do you need organizational skills? Do you need communication skills? Guess what? The work we're going to work with you, I'm going to help you build those skills, and I will help you get to your dream, your passion.
So it's a very different way of conversation with this youngster, which
exactly.
I totally kind of concur what you say. As you were talking, sharing that, then an image comes up. I remember this conversation I have with my son a couple of years back when we were on the way to work, and he was asking me after 6 months in the new job, and said, "Dad, I'm only 6 months in my work, but I feel dragging going to office. How could you be so happy and so energetic get up in the morning and go to work?" And I told him the difference is I have a purpose in my work, because I know every morning when I go to work, what problem am I solving? Who am I helping? How do I add value to others? Whereas you just think that it's just another task which is dragging for me. So really true. And when I share that, how I set my purpose for my work, for example, at that time, I was managing a global service desk for Shell. 145,000 users, 24/7, 35 languages. So every morning, you don't believe this, we have 100,000 calls a month. So even 1% of it complain, this is a huge number. So every morning I will have complaint, but I treat it as, wow, they give me feedback, how I can improve. And they give me a chance to help them, add value to them so that they can go back to their work and drill more oil, sell more oil for the company. So that get me excited rather than say, oh, I'm going to have another 200 email complaining. So I turn it around and I will share with him. So that really changed his mind. Say, wow, then I have to find a purpose in my work. Right. And as I have the purpose also, then what kind of skill required? So very true. Thanks for bringing this up. Excellent as well.
And Francis, by the way, you talk about the purpose at work. Let me ask you this. What was the year how old were you when you got married?
Wow, 25.
25, right?
25.
25, you're already thinking, hey, I need to make sure I save. I've got, I'm going to build a family. And I got to make sure I can take care of my aging parents, right?
Yeah.
Your son looks at you and says, hey, dad's well taken care of. I don't need to take care of dad.
Exactly.
Exactly. I may not likely have kids myself, so I need to pay, right?
Yes. They are living they call it what? Life, you only live one. YOLO.
So if we recognize this, we realize I need to have a conversation with these young people and help them find their own burning purpose.
Correct. Very true. And I have this quote called, when the why is big enough, the how is easy.
That's right. Yeah.
The how is easy. Okay, good. I think we're coming to the end. One last question, I promise.
Sure.
Right. So if you, let's time travel. If your younger self was here at PRISM 2025, fast forward to July, what idea or moment would blow your mind? Anything?
I'll start with this saying, Francis. As much as the day to day, we are globally and in Malaysia experiencing change at the fastest pace ever since the dawn of time. But today will also be the day that's the slowest pace of change going forward. Wow, what that means is as fast as you think today is, it's going to be way faster going forward, right? And that means today we will have no idea what's going to happen around the corner. Now,
Indeed.
You and I, we probably remember the early days of Skype, right?
Yes.
Voice over internet.
Voice
It's
over
pretty
IP.
funky, right? Skype being generation 1 wasn't great. It wasn't until WhatsApp came that truly transformed how we communicated. Francis, if I were to ask you 10 years ago, how much was your average mobile phone bill?
Oh, it was fixed, what, 85, 100?
How much is it now? It's probably half,
Yeah.
because we no longer need to pay for calls. We used to pay for
we use them.
international calls. We used to pay for SMS, 10 cents per
Correct.
SMS, right?
Correct.
Now you
Correct.
can send 5,000 New Year greetings to friends at zero cost.
Yep. Technology change.
It's not usually the first technology, it's generation 2 and generation 3. And the technologies that we have today with Gen AI and agentic AI is just generation 1.
Yep.
If you get comfortable with generation 1, you're going to be that Skype user and you'll be completely lost, right? Because generation 2, beyond ChatGPT is going to be obsolete in the next few years. If you're not on top of that, you're going to be left behind. And as I said, it's not about, you don't come to PRISM to learn what is next. You come to meet people who are going to connect and tell you and share with you, build lifetime networks so that when change happens, I'm on top of it.
Really good sharing. Okay, so Azran, I think that's all the time we have with you. Thank you very much. We look forward to see you in PRISM 2025. All right, and we'll have more sharing from you then. Right.
All right.
Now, we now transition to the second half of today's conversation. It's my great honor to welcome our truly transformational leader, Yang Berbahagia Dato Sri Idris Jala, is our globally recognized turnaround guru, turnaround complex organization and even nation. He involved in the government transformation program and also the economic transformation program, demonstrating how bold leadership and clarity of execution can drive lasting impact. Now, before that, he's kind of revitalized Shell subsidiary and later Malaysia Airlines, taking on seemingly impossible mission and delivering real and measurable results. So if you go to the what you call PEMANDU website, you're going to see he's also the CEO of PEMANDU Associate. I forgot to mention that. Big, fast result is the tagline. Yeah? Today we'll be hearing Dato Sri's perspective on how leader must respond and to the converging of forces of demographic changes and also the digital disruption. Dato Sri, we are honored to have you with us.
Pleasure.
Good morning. Yeah.
Morning.
Let's begin, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So what is the one insight that shaped who you are today as a leader, Dato?
I think it's just the words that you used before, big, fast result. I always believe that if you want to go far in anything that you do, you have to have results, the outcome. And you have to make it big. And you have to do it quick. So to me, that's all there is. Encapsulate into that very simple insight. So if you can do things fast and you can get the results and you make sure that the result is big, you're out there on the frontier. And that is the biggest insight. So doing everything that achieve big, fast result. I have a number plate for my car, BFR 33, and I put it on my shirt as well. So I really believe that becomes a motto of my life.
BFR.
Big, fast result.
Okay. Dato, I'm sure as you are driving the big, fast result, you have challenges before that. And my understanding is, proof that purpose usually anchor that. Would you share a bit on how purpose kind of keep you going when the pressure is high there?
Purpose is a very important component to everything that you do. And if you are not clear about your purpose, you're going to be lost. So I'll give you an example. When I was 41 years old, Shell posted me to become the managing director of Shell Middle Distillate of Shell Sri Lanka. The government ran the company for 22 years and Shell bought 51% equity in that company and also lost for another 5 years. So altogether, the company had lost 27 years of losses for that company. So I was 41 years old. It was the first managing director role that I was posted to. I can tell you, if I didn't understand the purpose why I was going there, I would have been lost. The purpose was very simple: to turn it around to make profit. That was the sole purpose of me being there. And if we didn't succeed in doing it, London office, our headquarters, had told me unequivocally, if I tell them that the company could not be turned around, I'll be the last person to switch off the lights. We have to close down the company and let everybody go off and close the company. And that was really what the purpose was crystal clear.
Very clear.
If you're not clear about the purpose, you'll cruise around. So I knew the purpose. It was absolutely clear. For me, that was the starting point. And if you're not clear about the purpose, you completely cannot become ruthless in your prioritization. You end up doing everything that you think is important. You manage business by what's called spasm. You go to Penang and you see people telling you all sorts of things. The more emotional they tell you, the more likely you will go out and make sure that that's the thing that you focus on. But then you forget that doesn't move the needle. What moves the needle is your core purpose. So I am absolutely clear that in everything you do, you must begin with your purpose. I call it true north. I use a new term for it. True north is a definition of purpose because it gives you a clear idea of where you're going. And so it tells you where you are today and where you are going. It has to be defined so clearly, it will shape your journey towards that particular true north.
So I hear that the purpose will make sure that you are always on the right path, and whatever you do will help you get to the right path rather than switch to other.
Absolutely. And I would say today, you should stand in the future. The idea of standing in the future, managing the present from the future is a critical part of management and leadership. The more visible, the more visual your description of that future, the more likely you will know what to do today to achieve that future. If your description of that future is vague and you can't describe it, you do not have power to make changes in the present.
And you're talking about vision.
For example, if you want to be a rich man by the year 2030, you have to say, how rich would you become? Would you be the richest man in Malaysia, beating Robert Kwok? And what else, what kind of asset would you have? And if that is clear for you, it will tell you exactly what you need to do today. Day after tomorrow, the next day. If it's vague, if you just say, I want to be a millionaire, how many million do you want to become? And so you have to be very, very clear. And only when that is clear, so I would say the power lies in the ability to visualize the future in its concrete sense. That is the power to make changes in today. Our problem today is people look at where they are today and they begin by saying, I'm going to improve my current lot. Yes, you can improve your current lot from where you are today, but that is actually incremental changes. That is not the leapfrogging kind of change. The leapfrogging change would be stand in the future, manage the future from the present.
Big, fast result. Okay, got you. All right, let's move on to the next one on innovation versus stability then. Same question as Azran. So as we constantly talk about disrupt, being either to disrupt or being disrupted, then how do you both managing the innovation boldly, but also preserve some steady work that maintain the stability then?
That's a very good question, Francis, and that's always a problem of leadership. Many leaders don't understand how to deal with that portfolio, that dichotomy between innovating at the same time managing the current to make sure there's stability. So I have a very simple rule that everything that I do to achieve the true north measure, that it's assuming that's clear, you then put things into three buckets. The first bucket is activities that are making the most of what you have. That means your current things that you do, keep them. How do you make the most of what you have? That means don't throw away those things that work. We call it making the most, MTM. The next bucket is investing in existing business, IEB. That means you put money now into the existing business to grow the business. You're not breaking anything new. You're basically continuing to do what you do, but you're putting more money into it, investing. Whereas the first one, you're not investing. You're just making them better without any investment that's thrown into making the most of what you have. The third one is this where the innovation comes in. We call it breaking new grounds. That's the last bucket. Breaking new ground is when you innovate. And anything that falls into the third bucket are things that will say, I will throw away the current way of doing it because the current way of doing it ain't going to work. They are not breaking new grounds. I have to reinvent myself. I have to reinvent the product. I have to reinvent and redesign the process. Everything in that bucket is entirely throwing away the status quo. That means in that bucket, there is no breakthrough without breakdown. You have to break down the status quo in order to achieve the breakthrough. So those buckets, in order to make sure you don't get lost in the prioritization, I have a simple rule, Francis. The rule is this. It's called a 70-20-10 rule of thumb. 70% of your activities is based on making the most of what you have. 20% of your effort is to make sure that you invest in the existing business. And the third one is breaking new ground. And if you reverse this, and if you say, I'm going to put 70% of my effort in breaking new ground, chances are you're going to create tremendous chaos in the organization. You may run out of cash before long because breaking new ground, it will take a lot of long time and effort to get results. That means you do 10 things, out of the 10 things, 1 will succeed, 9 will fail. You must be prepared that you will make a lot of errors in the last component, the last bucket. That's the area for trial and error and frustrations and stamina to keep on going and finding errors and failures. So my rule of thumb is to balance that. You need to follow the rule, the thumb, 70, 20, and 10 rule. And if you do that, you wouldn't get lost because you have a lot of money still to fund that breaking new grounds. And the shareholders wouldn't scream and shout at you, said, how come your profit is going down? Because you're putting so much money and effort to bucket 3 and the results not coming in first quarter, not in the second quarter. By the third quarter, you're fired. And so you need to make sure you get results in the first bucket. You also get results in the second bucket. And the more results you have, the more then you are allowed. You have the runway to innovate and make changes in that area. It's very important, in my view, to have the thing that is put that way. So I would say bold innovation works best when they're paired against disciplined actions and clear KPI targets. So while you are very clear about this bucket, but you must be very clear about this discipline in making sure you execute to get results.
So, Dato, have you ever been disrupted too far or not fast enough?
Disrupted. I mean, the whole world was disrupted during the pandemic.
During COVID? Yeah.
Absolutely. My team and I, we were completely disrupted because I have a consulting firm. We practically all our projects were either canceled or suspended. So we really didn't know what to do. We had no projects. And our business model then was that we keep only 2.5 months of cash. It was very, very short. So every year when we made the profit, we declare dividends to our partners and pay bonuses to the staff. I think our best year, we have the top 5% of our staff had 10 months bonus.
Wow.
Next 30% of the staff had something like 7 months bonus, and the remaining had 5 months bonus. That we keep only 2 months of cash. The problem was we knew that the pandemic was going to last for a very long time. We had a rule that if we ran out of cash, the partners had to respond to a cash call. A cash call that means we will say we need 1 million. All the partners must put proportionately their contribution to the 1 million. And if you don't put it, you lose your equity. And so everybody knew that the pandemic is not going to last for 2 months. It's going to go for 1 year or maybe 18 months. That's our prediction. So nobody wanted to put the money in the cash call. So it was a big problem. So it was a massive problem. One of the things we decided to do, how do we respond to this disruption? And we decided to do something we've never done before, Francis. Yeah. None of the people in my team have ever done programming. So I told them, since we have no projects, why don't we create the only global COVID index that's approved by WHO, so that we rank 134 countries every day based on how well they manage COVID-19. And I want this program to be completed within 4 months, and I want it to be approved by the Director General of WHO. And then we will deal on a daily basis, something like 20,000 data points to make sure how many deaths, how many inoculation, injections are there for COVID-19, how many people are in hospital, how many have recovered, all those data, and we rank the countries. And I can tell you, in exactly 3.5 months, we succeeded in creating the global COVID index. It was the only index that was approved by WHO, and we ranked 134 countries every single day. By the end of the year,
a big fast result.
2021, by the year 2021, we were given the global award for IT, the World IT Services Alliance Award for excellence for the COVID-19. I mean, to think that the company had never done programming before. Yeah. And this was the first attempt at programming. And then we were doing that. It was quite incredible.
Indeed. And so, those programming work are done by the existing staff or new staff?
I told them, we shall never outsource it.
Okay.
We have nothing to do. We have 50 consultants. We better know how to do it. And so that's what we did.
Fantastic, Dato. Thanks for sharing. That is another example of big, fast result. 3.5 months. Yeah. Okay, I think the next question you probably already answered. Talking about with the digitalization and faster way of working, has there been a moment where technology almost outplays your leadership, Dato? And how did you catch up?
Well, the pandemic was quite one. Clearly, I already told you before that it was something that really had a huge problem. And I had to learn from a lot of people around my younger colleagues a lot quicker at Zoom and at collaborative digital collaborative tools, and learning from some of the younger folks out there is a very important thing. So for me, the only way you can catch up with technology is to use and use and use.
Use it and
use
open-minded then.
Open-minded for you can talk about it, but talking is of no use. You really have to utilize it, like ChatGPT. The only way you can learn how to use it, to start using it every single day. The more you use it, the more you learn how to prompt better, the better the answer becomes. And so that's the only way. And I believe people that only talk about generative AI without really applying it in the work, that is philosophy. That is not keeping up with the technology, because the technology changes so rapidly. Yeah. And I can tell you, 6 months down the road, there'll be a new tool that comes out as an agent that will probably be much better at doing a particular thing. Powerful. Yeah. So I think keeping up with the technology is quite incredible. I would say today, there is in our lifetime, Francis, there is no other time in our lifetime that technology has become such pervasive that it questions our own intellect, because we can't keep on with it. If you ask it to do the calculations, it will give you the answers for a massive calculation within just a few seconds. There's no way you could possibly do that. And today, I would say today, we are living in a world where we're so blessed, because we have a tool that's available right at our disposal, almost free. And never at any time in our lifetime, such opportunity exists for learning. Today, I don't give any excuses for anybody that does not learn, because the opportunity today is absolutely to learn anything that you want on the internet, by generative AI. It's incredible.
Incredible at our disposal. Yeah?
Just to let you know, a lot of young people, when I started to work in 1982, I graduated in 1982, that shows my vintage lah. There was no Excel, there was no PowerPoint, there was no email as you see today. Absolutely everything was, if you want to do a spreadsheet, you have to do a long sheet of paper and you have to draw lines inside there. The world is completely different today compared to what it was when I first joined Shell in 1982. So today we live in a world that is absolutely no excuse for not learning.
No excuse for no learning. Good. All right, let's move on to the next question, Dato. This is about world disruption. Yeah. So Malaysia is facing the dual disruption now. One hand, demographic shift, creating workforce gap, where Gen Z entering traditional employment and Gen X like us staying longer. So on the other hand, AI, automation, digitalization rapidly transform how work gets done now, especially in the project-based environment. So as someone who have led national and corporate transformation, so how should a leader, in your opinion, even government respond to this convergence of this demographic and technology disruption?
Yeah, I think that Malaysia must avoid binary thinking. We must not look at this versus that. We must learn to be ambidextrous, because that's a reality in leadership today. You can't just say, I'm going to be linear in my thinking and I'm not going to be adaptive. So today, the most important thing for us to do now is to completely reform our education system. And I'm totally convinced that the current way of teaching, the pedagogy that's being used in primary, secondary, and universities is not going to keep up with the pace within which knowledge is going to be churned so rapidly. Informal learning is tremendous. So I think there must be a complete rethinking of our pedagogy, the method of teaching, because frankly speaking, the tool is available for teaching everything via the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, really, honestly, the AI is there. So that is fundamental rethinking. And I would say today too, that the government must allow incentives to be given to the private sector to embrace technology at the forefront. Because if you're not on the forefront of technology, you lose competition. Today, competition is so stiff. People learning so quickly in making things done. Products and services are hugely changing so rapidly. And if you're just behind the curve and everybody is ahead of you, you lose in your economy. So I would say education is very important. Changes in jobs. Today, people shouldn't be scared, in my view, of how technology is going to displace jobs, because jobs will change. I believe that human beings, we should become the masters. We should let the technology become the slave of what we do. And the moment we think that technology is the master, we become the slave. That's wrong. We should become the master of technology. Technology is our slave. The beauty today is that if I use ChatGPT or I use Copilot and others, I have an assistant that's never tired.
Yes.
Whatever I ask him to do, whichever time of night, there is no complaints. So simply I become the master because I ask my slaves to do what I want to do.
Do the
work. So really, we should not be thinking that we should fear technology. The leaders in this country must embrace it, not just embrace it, but at the forefront, the frontier of technology, the way we do everything. For my mind, everything has to change. For example, if you want to go to hospital, for the life of me, I don't understand why is it we just allow people to just come to hospital and wait there in front of the doctor for the next 1.5 hours.
Correct.
Technology should tell you there are only 2 patients that's available. It will calculate the time for you to travel from where you are to take a Grab or drive to the clinic. Then you are just in time. You don't have to go to the cashier there to pay cash to put your credit card. All of these things, you have to think very differently. Go to China and the way they do it today. I think you can make payments using your eyelids. You just look there and that you make payment. You can even go beyond mobile payment. I mean, we need to go down that path. Years ago, I was in Moscow. I went to Sberbank. Sberbank is the single biggest bank in Russia. I can tell you, they have technology so advanced that they use there. You walk into the bank, immediately they know that Idris Jala has walked into the bank.
Oh.
They will know immediately, and the announcement will be made. Idris, you can now go to counter number 2. When you go to counter number 2, the lady in front there is already opened your account and it's ready to service you instantly.
Wow.
And of course, I asked Herman Graf, who is the CEO, I asked him, what are you thinking of the future about digital banking? How are you going to make sure that your bank remains relevant when digital banking is there? He said, trust me, Idris, we already have it, but I don't press the button, because if I press the button, it means I'm going to delete practically all of our branches.
Oh.
That means everyone's redundant, you know.
Yeah.
So they have the capability to do it because the technology, the facial recognition is so sharp. What the Russian government have done was they took their technology and installed facial recognition in their MRT to catch the criminals. And within 1 month, they caught most of the wanted criminals on the list. Because the moment the guy walks into the MRT, immediately they said he's at station number 1. This is his face, catch him at station number 5. They know exactly his ticket as well. This guy is going to come out at station number 10. So they caught those guys. You see, today technology is so advanced that many things can be changed if we use it. So to me, the word is utilization. Adoption technology.
Utilization.
Use it, but you can talk and talk, but you got to apply it in every aspect of your corporation, whether it's customer service, designing your product, whether you're making payment system simple, dealing with customer complaints. All of these are ripe for making changes in innovation.
Really good sharing. Thank you, Dato. One last question, Dato. So if you are your younger self, say time travel, your younger self was at PRISM 2025. What idea would blow your mind?
It's just simple. I would just compare myself if I'm just attending it. I'm the younger version. I said, don't wait until you feel you are ready. You will never be ready. You will never be ready. Do it. Go for it right now. That idea of going for it right now, never wait until you think you're ready. When I went to Malaysia Airlines, I have never worked in aviation in my entire life. But if I were to tell myself that I will only go and take on the job only when I have some experience in aviation, I would have never done it. You just have to go and do it. Get yourself thrown into the deep end. You learn by doing. And I'm a really big proponent of learning by doing. So I would telling people, don't fear failure, because failure is free tuition for learning.
Thank you, Dato. Well, thank you for your sharing. What a conversation. Thank you very much, Dato. We look forward to see you at PRISM, where you can share more. I think our time is up. Jane, do we have a question for Dato?
I want to ask you really very important questions. As we are project managers, how can AI help us to anticipate the risk and also do scenario analysis for risks, and how we can create fast response to these risks? Really, I'm running a company in training, so we can face many risks. So how can AI help us to solve this problem?
There are 2 ways you can do that. You can you ask AI to say, if it takes you 5 years to complete the project, you ask AI very challenging question. Can you give me a new schedule to finish the project within 2 years. And tell me which part of the processes that we are putting out here, you put it out, all the processes that are there, the sequences of events, the ones you can do in parallel rather than in series, and it tell you what are the things that you need to invest in to put more cost if you needed to speed up the process. If you wanted to reduce, and you can ask the AI to do it. But you know, AI can work if you can give it data. And if you don't give it data and you didn't give it proper information to prompt it, it wouldn't give you the answers you require. So your input must be solid. And then I can tell you, if you do that, it will give you an answer, then you have to interact with it. You provide more info. And I don't quite want that. I want you to do the following thing. Take your point about risks. And if you, for example, you have a few risks and you create a risk matrix, the intolerable risk matrix based on the magnitude of the thing and the likelihood of it happening, then you say, there are a lot of risks associated with X and Y and Z, but I want you to make sure everything in the northeast quadrant, that means very high risk magnitude, at the same time high likelihood. I want you to make sure that nothing is compromised in the project management of this project, either in cutting out costs as well as in reducing the lead time. Make sure that no risk in the northeast quadrant is compromised, because these are intolerable. Everything in the northeast quadrant is, you are not going to jeopardize any of that stuff. And you can use AI. Frankly speaking, I'm totally convinced with proper prompting, with proper data that you put there today, there is enough capability in the current tools available. Some of the agents that are different tools that you can use to do this. You can look at many different tools. I'm pretty sure there are tools available to do this, but it can be done. But you must begin by becoming the master.
And they become a slave, yeah?
They become the slave.
Yeah. Master. Thank you very
Good
much.
advice. Good advice. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you, Dato.
Thank you.
We'll see you in Penang, in PRISM. So we have heard today that purpose is the field and clarity is the compass. Resilience is the engine for the transformation leadership. So whether turning national crisis or launching new venture, our speaker reminded that AI might be powerful, but it's still human that define the direction. So we will be the master. We should be the master rather than slave there. Yeah. So thank you for Azran and also Dato Sri. And we'll carry on this insight to PRISM 2025. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. So yes, once you have attending these sessions, you're eligible for 1 PDU points. So how do you claim it? Screenshot this slide so that you don't forget the step. Just email me your full name and also your email address. So I will get you with the claim code and also how you submit in your PMI website. So please allow us to take few working days. There is a massive inquiry, so please be patient for us. And next, last but not least, feel free to join us and meet Azran, Francis, and also Dato Idris at PRISM 2025 at Penang. Okay, so scan the QR code. It's the same QR code that I shared earlier. So will happen at end of July, Penang. And also we have another free in-person meetup this weekend. So it is also eligible for 2 PDU points. So you can also scan this or you just take a screenshot with this. And if you love all the insights, all the sessions here and would like to follow more, no worries, we will send a thank you email to everyone. And also we will have the recording upload to YouTube after a week time. So please be patient with us and stay with us for more to come. So thank you everyone for the time.